Dak-Ulun-Nuduvu was a veteran of the Salamanders and many a Space Hulk scouring, stalking the decks of the Hulk as quietly as he could. In Terminator armor, this was no mean feat. Silent? No, but not loud. He found himself in a truly ancient section of the Hulk, a ship that must have dated from the dark age of technology or even before. Impossibly, he saw a glaring light at one console and touched the screen, and it came alive. Raid Shadow Legends, where you can truly become a legend. A dungeon delver's dream. A turn-based RPG with glorious graphics and gripping action. And it's free to play on mobile, iOS or Android, and PC. With over 1 million active players and 25 million downloads and rising. Raid Shadow Legends is a juggernaut, a phenomenon, so get on board. New players can join one of the 216,000 clans to get tips or advice, so join in the fun. Go to the video description and click on the special links to get started. You will get a free 100,000 silver, which is Wodges, and a free champion, Lightsworn, a veritable powerhouse for early levels. All of this is only available for the next 30 days. It has an active Discord community with over 96,000 players, a server with over 60 channels and different languages just for Raid, and a plethora of guides and resources uploaded to YouTube every day. With nearly 2 billion player vs player and over 10 billion player vs environment battles fought and rising. What are you waiting for? Have at it! Raid Shadow Legends. Begin your legend today. Utterly bemused at this message from another time, another place, Dak-Ulun stalked on. His proximity detector went wild and saw a cluster of gene stealers moving at him fast. He grinned as he prepared his heavy flamer. It was the perfect weapon for fighting in a Hulk, or any tight-packed and confined position. None could pass it. But more than this, as the gene stealers tore around the corner and clawed their way towards him, he showed them the true worth of the weapon. As gouts of flame like sheets erupted from its nozzle, it doused and covered the first 3 to leap at him. All writhed as they were consumed. Those stealers behind could not charge him due to their burning brethren. Dak-Ulun-Nuduvu smiled again. He fired more gouts of flame and then took the initiative and trudged into the fire to assault the gene stealers behind. He was in Terminator armor. The flames could not harm him, an advantage he intended to play to the full. These stealers were toast. They just didn't know it yet. Welcome, gentle listener. I am Baldermort, your faithful servant, and I wish to introduce you to the forces, factions, and war gear of the Warhammer 40k universe. And today we are to discuss one of the most fun and most oft-quoted about weapons. Yes, today we discuss flamers. For flamers have been an essential part of the arsenal of war since the beginning of humanity's most early civilization. From the earliest burning branches being heaped against wooden walls, to naphtha and Greek fire, all the way through to napalm, and then, in Warhammer 40k, Promethium. Taken from the name Prometheus, that titan who stole from the Olympians and gave the gift of fire to humanity. That which was stated more than any other, the command of fire, to measure the superiority of humanity over the common beasts of the field and birds in the air. Flames evoke a primordial, feral, instinctive fear in most animate beings. Their imagery is very startling and dramatic, a thing that we can all understand. Fire, flames, burning. The secret horror of being consumed in one of the most painful ways possible, as your skin crisps, your sinews melt, and your bones char under its consuming caress. And flamers do not just use any old flames. Oh no. As with everything in the grim darkness of the future, it is far worse than it is today. For Promethium does not stop burning even when submerged in water, or even in the cold void of space. But for the basics, let us lean on existing wisdom. To quote, flamers also known as flame guns, are flamer weapons that come in a wide variety of designs and patterns, but all are ideal for flushing out enemies and cover, and putting groups of foes to the torch with projected flame. The two most common variants of flamers either have a detachable fuel canister under the barrel, or a hose connecting to a backpack canister. Flamers are most commonly used by Imperial assault forces such as Space Marine assault squads, though Xenos races such as the Eldar, Orcs and Tau are also known to make use of similar weapons. Flamer weapons project fire upon their foes and generally use a fuel referred to as Promethium, though it can also be a homemade concoction or other chemical brew depending on the local technological level. Most forms of Promethium are monopropellant fuels that ignite via a small pilot flame at the top of the barrel, though some flamers use binary hypergolic fuels that ignite or contact with one another. Once produced, the intense jet that spurts from the barrel creates a torrent of liquid fire, which spreads out in an inferno that burns even underwater, leaving enemies hard-pressed to put out the fire. And let us now find out about Promethium. To quote, Promethium. Promethium is a general term used for any form of combustible fuel in the Imperium of Man, including the various isotopes of hydrogen used as both fuel and reaction mass in Imperial plasma generators and starship engines. The term Promethium also refers more specifically to the substance that is the 41st millennium's equivalent of napalm, a highly volatile incendiary gel derived in part from refined hydrocarbons, which immediately ignites on contact with oxygen, and is used in Imperial flamer weapons to provide a lethal stream of fire. This form of Promethium reaches super hot temperatures. Similar to napalm, this gel sticks to an individual, continuing to burn on its own accord, even underwater and in the vacuum of space, igniting the substance it is sticking to. If properly dressed, it can be used as the fuel for incinerators, and thus is often used by the Imperial Inquisition's Ordo Malleus and Ordo Hereticus to purge their enemies, particularly demon hosts and rogue psychers. It can also be used to create anti-personnel explosives and bombs, as it is often readily available to Imperial forces in most war zones. Many Imperial void ships also carry large reserves of Promethium, both to power their systems as well as to trade with local star systems. Refined Promethium is valued across the stars, and is the basis for many battered cultures. It is also utilized as Imperial military forces' standard fuel, used in main battle tanks as well as other armed vehicles and aircraft. Since Promethium can burn in space and underwater, it is extremely useful for boarding actions, where the enemy might not expect to see flames in an airless environment. The term Promethium is used to describe any petroleum product that fits this description. It is not, however, a substance that always possesses the exact same chemical composition due to variance from different worlds and processing methods. The variance is so small that one form of Promethium usually cannot be distinguished from another, which is why the use of the single term Promethium is used across the Imperium to refer to a wide variety of actual combustible fuels. End quote. As this is just an introduction, I would just like to mention just a few of the actual types of flamers, but please be aware there are many, many more than will be discussed today, and will allow for further entries on those very special forms. But the ones you will most likely come into contact with are, from the top, the Astartes Flamer. This Imperial Flamer is an ideal weapon for flushing out enemies in cover and cleansing areas with purifying flame. It is the most common typical pattern employed by the Space Marines of the Adeptus Astartes, and accepts fuel through a pressure seal that can attach to a backpack feed for longer uninterrupted usage, or a smaller canister for quick refueling in bursts. The Flame Gauntlets. The Flame Gauntlets are a new type of flamer developed for the Primaris Space Marines. Flame Gauntlets are designed to unleash blazing streams of Promethium upon any foes that get in close, and are a weapon often used by Primaris Space Marine aggressor squads. Though their units are intended to provide heavy, long-range fire support, aggressors use flamer gauntlets to slay any foes who move into close combat range. The Hand Flamer. A hand flamer weapon dating back from the days of the Great Crusade. And of course, the Heavy Flamer. Just think of the standard Astartes Flamer, but think much, much larger. With a larger capacity and a larger range and spray factor, the heavy flamer can send, instead of a gouge of flame, a veritable tidal wave, a tsunami of this horrific material called Promethium. Now, the other two flamer forms you will truly meet almost regularly will be the Orc Burner and the Orc Scorchers. End quote. Flamers. So many uses, and so important a weapon in not only the setting, the tabletop, but also breaking the fourth wall in the very memes that surround the Warhammer 40k hobby. For which of us has not seen the bold statement, "I will need my heavy flamer for this level of heresy"? All good fun, but actually very prescient, for flamers are known to be one of the best cures for so many social ills from the perspective of the Imperium. Flamethrowers will always be an intensely dramatic weapon, and one that simply delights the writer and the artist alike. Let us now list the most common occurrences for the meeting of flamers in the grim darkness, which I shall present as a top 10. In 10th place, burning heretics. For those that fall from the light of the Emperor must be shriven of their sin, so they may stand at the left hand of the Emperor on their passing. So to be burned by the Inquisition is a favour, a bounty without measure, for in the pain that comes from the application of the flames of absolution, even the unclean may find redemption. In 9, burning mutants. Mutation is an abomination in the eyes of the Imperium, for it makes a mockery of the perfection of the human race and its form. Thus, for the truly altruistic reasons mentioned under heretics, the immolation of the mutant is honestly and truly the greatest of gifts they can receive. In 8, burning witches. It is not fully known for certain if warp-tainted witches are more susceptible to flames than other baseline humans, but the quest for this wisdom goes on with every witch that cannot be taken by the black ships, yet are too dangerous to let live. Burning also helps the soul, as mentioned above. 7. Burning random Xenos flora and fauna. It is very few races that are invulnerable to the consuming touch of fire. When in doubt, always make sure there is a flamer in your unit or formation at the very least when you go to wrangle on another planet. In 6, burning Tyranids. Tyranids can literally not gain enough casualties on both sides in any confrontation. For each dead body lying on the ground is another meal for them. It matters not if it is the Tyranid or their foe. All biomass is biomass. Hence is burning the ultimate defense. For even in defeat, it means that you have actually hurt the Hive fleets by burning and spoiling their meals. Oh yeah. In 5, burning heretics. Not sure if we mentioned that, but either way, burning is the tried and tested way forward. In 4, burning orcs. Orcs are repellent foes to most, as to kill one is to mean spores lift from their corpse, and in no time whatsoever there are a plethora of new orcs preparing to form a new war. The answer to this is to burn them. Flames eat spores quite nicely and tidily, thank you very much. Orcs, always burn them. 3. A cautionary entry. Do not use them on Necrons. Ever. Alas, the game may not reflect this horror, but it is a very simple premise. If your Promethium is of the right caliber, then they will melt. If it is not, if the solution is even a tiny piece or particle off, then you have just made that undead metal skeleton army into a burning undead metal skeletal army. Probably best to leave it out unless certain of your Promethium. And in 2, burning Neverborn, or demons as they are often named. Burning Neverborn is always essential, for the constant contact with the Promethium will mean that it has a chance of overpowering the Neverborn's regenerative abilities and forcing it to cut its tethers to the Materium and return to the warp. And in 1, the top use, of course, has to be burning heretics, for they are naughty in the Emperor's eyesight and should burn. It is the only way to save their soul. One day we shall get into more of the makes, models and effects of some of the more interesting types of flamer, but for now all I can say is, happy pyromania to all. In-game, of course. I have been Baldermort, your faithful servant. I hope you have enjoyed this brief introduction to the Flamers in Warhammer. If so, then please do consider liking and subscribing. If you do, then please do also hit the notification button, as I would not want you to miss out. Now, no matter what you do today, do try to make some time for fun. Toodaloo.